Good morning. Well, I'll also start with a small story. I changed 6 schools before college, not because I was a problem student, but because my father was always on the move for work. His workplaces were in remote, far away from the city. Every two, every year or two, a very familiar news would make rounds in my family that we will be transferring to another place. We will dismantle our home setup, pack our things. My father would instruct me to pack only the most important things that I would need and ruthlessly dispose of everything else. Books, clothes, toys, everything was given away. I would feel sad and uncomfortable by the very thought that I would be leaving behind the friends that I made in the last year, my gadgets, my toys, my clothes, and a lot of fond memories of the place. I dreaded that I'll go to a new school. I'll encounter new personalities as teachers, new norms and rituals to follow, new people to make friends with, and new tricks to employ to avoid getting bullied by my fellow students. I went to school because there was nothing else to do in those places. Schools were far away. Sometimes I had to walk long distances. Sometimes I took ride on the passing vehicle. Sometimes I hopped onto lorries carrying my minerals and ores, but time flew by. By the time I was in my 8th standard, we moved near to a bigger city. I joined a school that was 6 kilometers away from home. And this time I was given a bicycle. I was clumsy, silent, and an indifferent backbencher student. I won't characterize myself as a person bad in academics, but I was not interested at all. Somehow I managed to sail through. The best part of the school, my high school, as we put it in India, so the best part was the commute back from school to home. It was filled with so much of fun. I would take a different route every day and I would explore the areas before I reached home in the evening. My 10th grade board exams, when they were over, as per the agreement I had with my parents, we got a TV set at home. It was like a festival that day. Later, I immersed myself in the stupid TV shows, indulged myself in casual gossips with my friends, and roamed about with my bicycle throughout the day. My parents were getting fed up with me. One day, while having dinner, my father asked me, "So, what have you decided that you will make out of your life?" Every time, this question was not new to me. I was asked this question by my parents so many times before, and every time I amused them with my answers. Sometimes I would say that I'll become a traffic police because it gave me a lot of power to control hundreds of people on the road. Other time I would say I'll become a pilot or I would become an army officer or things like that. But this time when I was posed with this question, I really didn't know what to answer that day. Something was very different in me. So I searched every nook and corner of my heart and was trying to concoct something which would amuse my father, which would please him. But then I had none at that moment. A few days before in the TV, I had watched a movie and it was called The Burning Train. I was so much fascinated by that character, Vinod Verma, I remember. He was the engineer who designed the world's fastest train. It was called, I think, the Super Express. So that character had impressed me just a few days ago, and also I had learned to repair my cycle myself. So with those props of knowledge that I had, I filled my lungs with air. I took a deep breath, swelled my chest, and told, I think I'll become an engineer. Well, by the time my father had already finished his dinner and he was washing his hands without even looking at me, he asked me, so how are you going to become an engineer? And that was followed by a slew of many such questions. With every passing moment at that time, I was turning deaf. I was withdrawing all my senses. I was floating in dark vacuum. I wanted to escape, but something within me had changed that day. Those questions emerged and stopped me every time I tried to escape into a different plane of thought. I was literally trapped. Then I had no idea how to proceed. I did not have the exposure. So I started collecting information about how to become an engineer. I inquired with my teachers, my friends, my relatives as to like what it takes to become an engineer. And I discovered at that time that I had to be good in studies, I had to get good grades, and then I had to pass examinations, entrance examinations, to get into a good engineering college. Now that sent a cold shiver down my spine as I knew how lightly I had taken studies up until then. I was in doubt whether I could ever achieve that feat. I was in panic. The junior college, or the plus two as we say in Odisha, the junior college I went to was 11 kilometers away from home. So every day I had to endure a 22 kilometers of a cycle ride. After all the other engagements throughout the day, I barely had 6 hours to dedicate to studies. I did not have access to private tuitions or coaching classes or good books. My parents couldn't have afforded that. But I scouted around. Looking at my desperation, my friends, they helped me a lot. They helped me with resources, information, advice, guidance, whatever. So I had all the resources I needed to start. The only thing that was in short supply was time. But there was no dearth of fear or doubt when I embarked on this journey. Fast forward 2 years, I joined the VTech program in one of the prestigious technical colleges in this country. What happened in those 2 years was pure magic. It felt like I was transported through a wormhole into another side of the universe in a jiffy. Now, after so many years, when I look back, I feel there were 4 crucial factors that played a big role. The first one was having a strong desire. Becoming an engineer was the only goal in my life at that moment. I was driven, I was committed. I was ready to do anything to achieve my goals. I was aware of my shortcomings. I knew that time was in short supply. So I was always on the lookout for workarounds. I was always readjusting my schedule. The second factor was coming to terms with myself. Initially, I was stricken with guilt, remorse that I had wasted the time I had. But I acknowledged my situation. I accepted myself with pure honesty. I forgave myself. I loved and respected myself. I constantly communicated with myself, checking on my progress, congratulating, and celebrating small successes that I had on the way. Slowly, the self-doubt and the fear ebbed away. The third factor was the mental elasticity, and this was very important. My childhood life was a blessing in disguise. I had learned to adapt to new environment, switch context quickly. I could make connections with people. I could learn and unlearn faster. I could adjust and I could work around when unforeseen or unplanned events happened on the way. I pushed myself a little every day and I avoided stagnation. The fourth factor was remaining focused. Like my father's words, pack only the most important things and ruthlessly dispose of what is not required. Those words had a profound influence on me. I always prioritized the activities I was doing in my life. I focused on the mission while eliminating all the distractions on the way. Sometimes my plan was disrupted, sometimes my schedule got spoiled because of events which were beyond my control. But because of the elasticity I had developed during my childhood days, I could always come back to the course and I could follow my Uber plan. I was immune to deprivations, shortcomings. So that's the way I pushed myself every day, and that is what helped me in gaining grounds quickly. The fourth factor was remaining focused. So the long distance cycling that I used to do every day from college to home and home to college, that helped me to calm my restless mind. My throbbing muscles in my legs that reminded me of the fragility of human existence. There was one failed tryst with the road accident, and that infused a sense of deep gratitude in me. All this made me deeply spiritual. All this trained me to ignore the wayside distractions and helped me maintain a razor sharp focus on my goals. After 2 years of getting tossed, terrain teased by life, I was metamorphosed. I went on to join the prestigious IIT. I became an engineer, though not like Vinod Verma in that movie, but still a good one, I would say. The journey continued ever since, and here I am. After 25 years since those days, I still walk 10 kilometers every day. I have learned to play 6 musical instruments. I'm a self-taught artist. I research on a wide variety of technical topics. So friends, if you want to achieve anything in life, first, develop a strong desire. Accept yourself and look forward. Develop that elasticity in your mind. As somebody says, that if you really want something, you'll find a way. If you don't really want, then you'll always find an excuse, right? And remain focused all throughout unless your goals are achieved. Recently, I again watched that movie, The Burning Train, with my 2 young kids, but it did not turn their brains. Well, they will have their own moments one day, and so would everybody. That's all I had for you, friends. Thank you so much.